We're all familiar with nicotine, whether it be from personal use or cultural use. Yet, have you ever stopped and wondered what exactly nicotine does? I personally dealt with nicotine addiction for 10 years. Eventually, I began to research the subject and learned of what nicotine does along with its short-term and long-term effects. Today, I would like to discuss with you my personal relationship with nicotine and its short-term and long-term effects. Now, let me begin with how I stumbled upon cigarettes. When I grew up as a young kid, I would see cigarettes and I thought they were so cool. I thought they were manly. I thought they were tough, just like everyone around me thought. And so I thought that maybe that'd be the answer to my social anxieties. Eventually, I picked up my first cigarette and I smoked it. And I felt this buzzing in my brain and I felt different than before. I thought nothing of it. Eventually, I put myself in a social situation. And when my social anxieties got the best of me, I began to have cravings for cigarettes. And this began my relationship with cigarettes. In my youth, I started smoking cigarettes on the weekly, the monthly, every once in a while. I did it across in Mexico, and I did it because my friends thought I was tough because I smoked reds. My friends started to notice me because I smoked cigarettes, and I started to feel better about myself because I smoked cigarettes. All these false things started to build up, and I started to create an identity with cigarettes. Eventually, as I grew up, I started to get stressed from life. You know, you get a job, schools, it's very stressful, and you get your heart broken. Because of all this stress, I wanted to find a way to cope, and I didn't have a way to cope. So I'd smoke cigarettes. I smoke about a pack a week, and I started to build a really bad relationship with cigarettes. Ever since then, I've been trying to quit, but it's been a struggle every day. Because when I feel stressed, when I feel at my worst, I just don't know where to go besides a cigarette. Sometimes, all I can think about is a cigarette. Sometimes I shake for a cigarette. I crave a cigarette. It can be very, very scary and something that is hard to deal with. And I would like to help y'all deal with this issue by giving you some information on cigarettes and nicotine. Although there is some reasons to use cigarettes, there's a reason why many use cigarettes. Cigarettes are alkaloids, and they work with our parasympathetic nervous system, meaning that it works with our reward system. Because of this, we crave it because it rewards us. It gives us dopamine in the same way that eating gives us dopamine, in the same way that other things give us dopamine. It's a reward system, and that's why we build this connection with cigarettes. Eventually, not eventually, but some people use it for its benefits. Cigarette, they increase your attention, they increase your cognitive function. It's been shown in tests from smokers and non-smokers that smokers perform better cognitively than non-smokers. There's a reason people smoke, and that's because it makes them work harder, it makes them think harder, it makes them more intelligent. And this is why it helps us cope, and this is why a lot of people use it. Although it comes with side effects, like I said, addiction can be very hard. We make it a part of our day, we make it a part of a routine, and it's hard to escape this routine because this cigarette is sometimes the only thing we look forward to. Eventually you start building withdrawals, you get shaky, you don't get your cigarette and you start itching, you go crazy over a cigarette. And at the end of the day, cigarettes are bad for you. There's no easy way to say it. They're bad for you and they harm you. It's a give and take with cigarettes, and they take more than they give. Looking at the long-term effects, we could see that respiratory health, plain and simple, you're taking in smoke. You're taking in tar into your lungs, and that's harming your lungs. It's doing you no good. It's scarring your lungs. It's making it harder for you to breathe. And in the long term, you're going to need to be put on oxygen. You're going to need other help to breathe and to function. It takes 10 years to heal the damage you've done to yourself through cigarettes. 10 years of no smoking at all. And that can be very tough for someone with an addiction. It's very important to keep in mind that if you don't have a relationship with cigarettes, it's better not to start one because you're going to have to quit for 10 years afterwards, and it's going to be tough. Besides that, when you look at your heart, it clogs your heart arteries. It clogs all your veins, and it makes your heart hard to function. It's going to increase the chances of heart attack and stroke. It's going to make the chances of you living a long life the chances are very small that you're going to live a long life if you smoke cigarettes. And then we start to look beyond it. I mentioned that nicotine increased your brain function. but in the long term, it decreases your brain function. It decreases your intelligence because it inflames your brain, and it makes your blood-brain barrier thinner, and it makes your mind work slower over time. Eventually, you're gonna need cigarettes to function at the rate that you want to function, and that's just not the way it works. You can't keep taking in. It's gonna take more eventually than it gives. Um, and the reason you smoke it is to be more intelligent, and it's going to counteract that in the long term. I've smoked for 10 years, and I can tell you right now, this mind ain't the same mind that I had in high school. I would like to close by giving you a summary of the ground that we've covered in this presentation. Nowadays, we find nicotine being sold all around us. It can be hard to resist the urge to smoke, yet with the long-term effects in mind, we should fight to stay away from its negative influence. Considering the information I have provided, I hope you do not begin a relationship with nicotine. If you already have, I hope you find strength to stay away from nicotine. I hope that I've helped you fight this battle with cigarettes, because I've fought it and it's not easy. The effects can be very harmful at times, and at times it might even take over your life. And I'd appreciate it if you stay away from it with the information that I've given you. God bless you. Have a good night.